Hey, welcome everybody to today's webinar. This is John Bartos. Good morning for those folks who are out there in the West Coast. Good afternoon for those folks on the East Coast. And we're going to have an exciting time today because here's why. A lot of things changed in our marketplace over 2009. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about some of those things that changed radically, shifts in a marketplace that we'll never see come back in the recruiting industry again. Ever come back, and what the power brokers are doing out there to circumnavigate some of those things. Now, if you take a look at the marketplace that we're in, it has absolutely changed. There's no doubt about it. So what we're going to talk a little bit about today is how do we add value today? Today in business, 2010 to 2011, how do we have the best business development, develop those relationships that add the revenue for your staff? Real quick, I run a recruiting firm, Jonathan Scott International. We have 3 marketplaces that we work on. When 2009 came, wow, shocked. We saw a lot of people in our industry drop out very, very quickly, and 2009 was all about survival. But there were certain people out there who not only did well, did extremely well. And what I want to call those folks were the power brokers of the industry out there that did that. What's a power broker, you ask? Well, what a power broker is, it's an individual that's one of the top billers of their specific industry. Typically bills anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to $1.5 million, up to $5 million per year from a placement business. I'll share some things with you. Out of the 10 power brokers I talked to in the last 6 months, half of them had record years last year because they were doing specific things on how to compete in a recovering marketplace. As the economy was just slowly eking its way back to where we needed to be, they were doing very, very well. And we're going to talk about those. Now let's talk about what happened in 2009. We got just 30 minutes here, so we got to rock and roll. But we saw a couple things happen in the marketplace. Obviously, unemployment rate went through the roof. And they say today, even though it hovered between 9.7 and 10%, today we're roughly around 9.6, 9.7. I'll look forward to seeing the numbers that come out next Friday to see really where we are. But they say today that it may be in an economy where will be a jobless recovery. What does that mean? It means that a lot of the jobs will not be coming back. And if you take a look at what's going on in your customers today, they're getting very, very picky on who they hire. They're not going to take a B or C player anymore. They want perfect. So a lot of the things we see in the economy are affecting the way business development is being done. Obviously, our profession lost some people. We lost roughly 63 to 65% of our profession throughout 2009. Now, what that means for you is there'll be a business that's out there that you'll have the ability to get because of less competition from other recruiters. Now, something that changed that won't come back is our financial health, certainly of our candidates. How many people out there actually move people during your recruiting? In the healthcare IT space, we move 50% of the people. So now we have issues to deal with that we never had to deal with before, such as my house is underwater. If I sell my house, I have to come to the table with $100,000 or $50,000. Oh, by the way, if you do a background check on me, unfortunately, my credit is gone. So a lot of the things going on with the United States, we're going to have that problem for a little while, specifically the financial health of our clients. And then obviously last year, recruiters going everywhere for new clients. And what our clients were saying last year was, I don't have any jobs available. I'm laying people off. I was going to call you, John, because I wanted to give you my resume because I thought I'd be next in line to be laid off. That was last year. And today what our clients are saying is, you know what? We do have some opportunities coming up, but you know what? We're going to let our internal recruiters go after those opportunities against you, John. Matter of fact, I'll let you have this search, but we're going to reduce your fee as well. 30% isn't going to work anymore. Therefore, I want you to take this search for 25%. No, by the way, our internal recruiter and recruiters will be competing against you. So that's a lot of things that changed in our marketplace, but here's a major shift. Throughout 2009, because of all the things on the go, the use of technology went through the roof. Think about this for a second. 2 years ago, had you even heard of Twitter before? How was your use of LinkedIn 2 years ago? You guys probably heard what happened Saturday. If you haven't heard what happened Saturday, LinkedIn shut off so your ability to see third-level contacts. They shut that off as of Saturday, so you can no longer see that. So you can see technology changing. But don't forget out there, the use of technology is going through the roof. And people are using things like Google search. They're using and not on the job board search like Monster, Career Builder, and Dice, but they're using different things out there to allow them to find candidates faster, which doing another thing, which is decreasing the time to fill or time to deliver. So let me repeat that. The use of technology is higher than it's ever been before, which is decreasing the time to deliver candidates that we need. Here's what used to happen 3 years ago. You'd get a search from one of your clients, and one of your clients would say, when can you get candidates? And I'd say, well, I can probably get you candidates. Oh, give me 2 weeks, and I'll have 3 to 5 A players for it, maybe 3 weeks. Today, because of time to deliver, you need to get candidates within a very short time, like less than a week. Also today, clients are being extremely careful of who they bring on board. They're no longer going to take somebody who may be a B player but who's a good guy. Now they want to see perfect. So you'll have an interview process. Your candidate will go through the interview. They'll give them one interview, second interview. That used to be the end of the process. Today they're doing an assessment testing, making that candidate do a presentation. And then after that 4 or 5 week process, they're making a decision. No, John, we like him a lot, but he's not quite exactly what we're looking for. Therefore, I'm going to ask you to keep looking. So a lot of that's going on in the marketplace today where clients are being very careful. And today internal recruiters are competing with everyone. So now you think, well, I got my LinkedIn contacts and I have my technology I use. But the funniest thing in the world is the first person you hooked to when you got into LinkedIn was your clients. So now your clients have all the contacts you have as well. So a lot of those shifts are happening in the marketplace, but unfortunately a lot of them will never come back. The biggest shift that happened in the marketplace for me was the candidate financial problems. I hired this year, brought on board to my client companies, 2 director-level candidates. Salaries were $175,000 a year or more, and I would have thought no issues. Both these candidates that actually I got the job for let me know up front, number one, I can't pass a background check. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. I said, what do you mean you can't pass a background check? He said, yeah, John, I declared personal bankruptcy about a month ago. How about that for a red flag, huh? I said, okay, Mark, help me understand this. You make $175,000 salary. You haven't been out of a job. Why in the world would you declare personal bankruptcy? I'm thinking somebody can't manage your money apparently. But candidates are getting caught up in investment situations. I had one candidate that had rental housing, had 20 rental places that all went underwater. He walked from all of them, declared personal bankruptcy, which ruined his credit. And you know what? We've seen more and more of this stuff going on. I had a candidate for me who couldn't afford a $300 plane ticket to interview. And when she showed up at the interview, they give her the $300 for the plane ticket. But because clients have been bitten so many times, they're not willing to sometimes front that airfare up front. They want to make sure they show up first before they pay them back. And when candidates who make $100,000 a year, $120,000, $90,000 a year, do not have $500 on a credit card for a plane ticket, where is America coming to? Unbelievable. So that's never going to change. And then activity is increasing, but not necessarily revenue as fast as activity is increasing. These shifts in the marketplace we just went through are not going to change back. The use of technology is going to continue to increase at the speed of light. The time to fill metric or time to deliver candidates will continue to go down because you're now competing with everybody in the world, including the internal recruiters. Clients will continue to be very careful because they need to be careful and not spending money foolishly. Also, internal recruiters are going to be competing against you, and we're never going to get away from, at least for some time in the foreseeable future, our candidate financial problems. So putting all those together, what can we do to increase business development and add more value for you for your client relationships to make that happen? And let's talk about those. Number one is you got to use technology. If you're not on top of technology today, strong suggestion, figure out a way to learn everything about technology to help you get a hold of the people you need to immediately. Now, we have a process at my organization that we use that you have to do certain things, but based on a defined process that we have, we're able to deliver very, very, very quickly because of our technology. the most important thing is to qualify the search assignments or job orders that you have to make sure you're working on the best ones. You know, if you take a look at it, there's some good tools out there like the job order matrix that allow you to qualify a search. It's amazing when I have a new recruiter that works for me, a new account executive, and they'll come to me and they say, hey, John, I got this new job order. I'm so excited about it. I want to work on it. And the first thing I do is, congratulations, what a great job order. Is it a search assignment? And by the way, for those who don't know it, a search assignment is a very qualified job order. So what I do is put them through and have them go through what I call some kind of a qualification form for that job order to see if it's a search assignment or not. So what we do is put it through the job order matrix, and through the job order matrix, you have an opportunity to determine if it's a good job order or not. Now, if you take a look at the form that's on your screen, it has questions on there like, how difficult is the search? What's the sense of urgency? What's the exclusivity? What's the hiring cycle? Now, you're probably asking yourself, why is this business development? Guys, this is the most important question for business development in the world, this job order matrix. And here's why. Because you're going to take a lot of search assignments or job orders. You got to make sure they're worth the paper it's written on. So when you measure these job orders and putting them through a matrix, you'll determine the quality of job order it is. So let's say I go through a search and I say, okay, Mr. Hiring Manager, what's the hiring cycle on this? And he says, well, based on our new process, we want to make sure we hire the right people. The process is going to take 8 weeks. Holy smokes. So I write that down and I circle it in red, hiring cycle. Then I ask him some other questions and he says, okay, I tell you, the compensation for this position is $80,000 a year. And I know that's 20% below market, so I circle that one. Here's the greatest thing about the search assignment and job order matrix. This allows you that when you take a job order to qualify the job order and finding those areas that are problems, like hiring cycle and compensation, to circle those and have the ability to go back and change those. And let me tell you what power brokers do, and it's the greatest thing in the world. Once they get an initial job order, they just don't go like a dog panting and say, I got a job order, job order, let's go work on it. What they do is really evaluate the job order to make sure it's worth working on. In the areas that doesn't make any sense or makes it more difficult for you to be successful, they go back to the client and they say something like this. Jim, hey, thank you very much, by the way, for the Vice President of Sales job order that you gave me. I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you because we really evaluated this job order, and there's certain things we can change that will help increase our success rate on making sure we find the perfect person for you. Let me just share a couple points with you. First of all, one of the things you mentioned is the hiring cycle, hiring process. You had said through the hiring process, you go do an initial phone interview, then they'll do a panel interview on the phone, then they'll do a face-to-face interview, followed by another face-to-face interview, and then they're going to do a presentation to the group, then assessment testing, and psychological testing. Well, based on the process, you figured it would take 8 weeks. We found out that based on our experience, that anything over 3-4 weeks of a hiring process, we lose candidates. Jim, let me ask you a question. What can we do to get this 8-week process down to a mere 2 to 3 weeks so we know we won't lose A-player candidates? And by doing that, what you'll do is get the hiring manager to change those things on the job order that aren't good. But more importantly, what it does is make sure that you don't work on something that you shouldn't be working on. Because whatever you're working on today, from a job order perspective, you're just spending your house payment 2 months from now. Let me repeat that so we all got that. Whatever you're working on today in terms of a job order is what you're spending your house payment on 2 months from now on. So make sure you don't spend your house payment on something that's not going to go through. So it's real important to make sure you work on the best things, and a job order matrix is phenomenal. Pre-qualify and requalify. Make sure candidates are requalified and pre-qualified, because the better you can deliver candidates to your clients, the more they're going to use you. If you don't deliver, they're not going to use you. Let me ask you a question. Think about this. When an offer goes out to your candidate and they decline it, who looks bad? You, the client, or the candidate? Well, the answer is this. It's you. It's you. So you got to make sure you requalify and pre-qualify candidates better than you ever did before. And if anybody needs forums or anything that you'd like some copies of this stuff, I would love to send them to you so you guys can implement in your own offices. Now, some other things that are done is setting expectations that really work very, very well from a power broker perspective. Let me show you what expectations are. If you're working with a client and you're talking about potential search, the idea is to develop that value-added business relationship as best as humanly possible. And the reason being is because they want to make sure they use you exclusively and over and over and over again. By the way, just for the record, and I asked this question at NAP's conference this past weekend, people who bill $500,000 to $1 million, even $5 million per year, there's a few producers out there that do that, by the way. Do you think they work on 10 accounts, 20 accounts, 15 accounts per year, maybe 50 accounts? Here's the answer. Folks who bill $1 million plus and do it consistently year after year after year typically work on no more than 4 to 8 accounts. That's right, 4 to 8 accounts, which means that what you're doing is you're taking specific accounts and developing unbelievable relationships with them and getting more business and more business and more business from them. Now, setting expectations, and I think we're up here with for the candidate role, what you do when you set expectations with your client is this. You share with the client what your role is in the process. You share with the client what their role in the process is, and then agree on expectations. And by setting expectations up in front of exactly how you work specifically and how they need to act and react and work with you specifically, you set up a strong value-added relationship that as long as you do what you say you're going to do, they do what they say they're going to do, it's going to end in a very successful conclusion, and which is important to set expectations up front. If anybody needs the forms, I would love to send them to you. Now let's talk about probably the key that's made the biggest difference in business development. Probably, I can't even remember this since the last thing, but it's insight, which is a key to do business. Let's give you some example of insight. Let's hear a marketing presentation I said 5 years ago. Here's my marketing presentation. Hi, Tim. It's John Bartos, President, Jonathan Scott International. How are you? Great. Have you heard of us before? We do executive search specifically with Epic software in the hospital and consulting marketplace. I found a guy while doing a search in your marketplace, and I thought of you guys. This is a systems analyst who's an excellent Epic Clarity report writer. Feature is he actually has been certified by Epic and worked with over 40 installs specifically with bringing new product to marketplace. The advantage for the client who brings them on board is that they'll have the ability to have somebody very experienced as well as be able to do any project that you want them to do. Does it make sense for you to see them today or tomorrow or next Monday or Tuesday or whenever? That was a traditional marketing call that happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Today, not working. Not working. Here's what's working. It's insight. It's something that's very, very unique about a candidate, a client, an industry, that it's information that's so sensitive that not many people have. And it gets away from a recruiter relationship and moves it into a consultative relationship. Here's an example of what insight is in business development. Going over the same script, going over the same kind of marketplace. Jim, it's John Bartos with Jonathan Scott International. How you doing? Have you heard of us? What we do is work with providers, CIOs, hospital CIOs, all over the United States, and helping them with their critical Epic installations. Matter of fact, we've worked with over 50 of the top hospitals all over the United States, specifically in the last 6 months, helping them mainly with the Epic ambulatory implementation. The reason for me to call today is we see a lot of organizations struggling in finding Epic Clarity report writers because it's so different from what the last module of the software was. Traditionally, what we're seeing is they're bringing in typically a report writer, which is an HL7, which really doesn't work well specifically with the new ambulatory package. Therefore, I wanted to ask you, are you ready to implement Epic ambulatory? When are you going to do it? And what's your staffing looking like? All right, so let's talk about that for a second, what I just did. Instead of saying I got a guy and guessing that they need some guy, what I did is took some very unique insight about the industry. Not only was it very specific to Epic CIOs and understand there's a problem very specific to this implementation going on, and it's with an Epic Clarity report writing. Very, very specific. Then what my questions was to him was this. When is your Epic ambulatory implementation going on? And then it opens a conversation. So no longer is it about a guy. What's going on now is the more insight you can bring to your marketing and sales presentations, the closer and closer you are to getting not only a conversation, but a strong business relationship. Because no longer are you a recruiter now, you're now becoming a consultant. And that's insight into business. Now, also, there's a couple other things. Recruiters need to spend more time on the things they need to do, and this business right now is all about activity. The economy is sputtering just a little bit, so the more activity we have on the go, the better people are going to do. Therefore, the activities we need to focus on are typically the not urgent activities and important activities. Obviously, new marketing calls have to be done every single day. And the more successful people we see today in talking with them is they've scheduled marketing calls every single day, and they do them, and they do them, and they do them. Let me explain what touch plan is, because it's the next thing on not important, not urgent but important. What's working also is touch plans. And what that is every 6 weeks, somebody sends a mass email out to a specific set of customers, clients, prospects. And it may be something as simple as this. It may be something as simple as, I'm introducing you to some contract staffing services that we have. It may be as simple as introducing them that we now offer services in Epic Clarity, or whatever it is. But it's some little information that goes out to their set of prospect list. I call it a milk run, where you want to go after 200 prospects and it's on your list, and you're going to spend some time focusing on them. What a touch plan is you send something out, and then you call them. But you do it every 6 weeks, so they're consistently seeing a message from you, message from you, message from you, message from you. And if you do it every 6 weeks, it's enough time, because when they have a need, they got to keep you in mind. So the idea is a continual program to get back with them, get back with them, get back with them about your services that you have. And the more you use the insight, the better you're going to be. Now, the question we often have is, boy, you know, I got to get new clients, new clients, new clients. And what I wanted to share with you is this. New clients typically are your most costly way of doing business. So what we see a lot of people doing out there, especially the power brokers, remember we talked before, they have 4 to 10 accounts at the most that they do anywhere from $500,000 to $5 million of business with. So it's not about a quantity deal that's going on. Well, I need more accounts, more accounts, more accounts. It's the right accounts that you have. And so I wanted to share with you here that the selling situations that you get into, the easiest way to get more business is the low-hanging fruit, which is your existing accounts. Now, you're probably saying they're not hiring anymore, or they stopped hiring. Well, I tell you what helped us out in my organization this past year is we went back to our existing clients, and we offered more services. We contacted them more often. We offered other things we could do for those guys, but then we started networking within the accounts. So one of the first things I did is said, Dennis, we've done business with you for 4 years now, and I've typically only worked with you specifically in the sales and marketing area. Who else in your organization could I work with that would make sense for people to hire people? And then Dennis would give me a couple names of people. And I'd say this, okay, Dennis, great. I love it. I appreciate the referral. Could you do me a favor? Could you send Scott that email and just let him know who I am and what I've done for you? Just to remind you, I've placed 40 people with your organization, specifically with you, in the last 4 years. And some of the success that you saw over the last 2 years probably have to do with some of the new people we brought on board. So if you could just mention that to him, I'd really appreciate it. So then from there, from that referral from Dennis, I'll call Jim, who's the VP of Engineering. And I'll say something like this, Jim, it's John Bartos with JSI. How you doing? Great. Hey, Dennis said he was sending an email for me. Did he send that over to you? Great, wonderful. Yeah, I tell you what, we've worked with Dennis for the last 2 years. We brought in over 40 people to his organization and specifically helped him overachieve his yearly quotas by 40% the last 2 years. And it had a little bit to do with some of the people we brought on board. Here's a question I've got for you, Jim. Tell me about your staffing right now in terms of your staffing levels. Are you looking at bringing anybody new in your organization? What critical openings do you have right now? Do you have anybody in your staff specifically that's not pulling their weight? And have those conversations. But here's the idea. It's not so much what you say. What's your idea is to go to your existing accounts and it's spreading out. Go to two to three people on either side of your current contacts. Go up, go down. But the idea is there's gold in them there hills. There's lots of gold in them there hills. And a lot of times it's the lowest hanging fruit. We've already got a service agreement. We've got a hunting license already because we've been working with them. So now it's time to go after those accounts and really get as much business as we possibly can. Anytime on a quarterly basis that I think we're a little bit lower than we need to, or we're missing our quota here at my organization, we go to our existing accounts and start networking to get additional job orders, retained searches, engaged searches, money down, all of it. So New clients are fun, but existing is where you get a lot of your business coming from. One of the things that help us, too, that power brokers do very, very well, is they make sure that they don't have deals go bad on them. What do I mean by that? Everybody has deals go bad on them. Well, here's what's actually going on. If you have an offer that goes out that's not accepted, as we talked about before, you look really, really bad. So what power brokers do very, very well to ensure they got more business and more business and more business coming on is the candidates they have in process, they close. They get them done. They don't have offers go out and then not. Quick story. It was 1999 when I started in the business. In about October, so probably 10 months into the business, I had a huge day going on. I had 6 or 7 offers going out, excited about it, so fired up, and I had these clients who absolutely loved me because I was bringing candidate flow for them. Well, long story short, great day on Thursday. Friday, all 7 deals went south on me. Didn't close one of them. And I remember that weekend where I was so disappointed, wanted to quit the recruiting industry, had enough. I'm sure you've had some, one or two of those days before. But what I realized is I needed to close these deals. The result of that was I had a client fire me in Chicago because I could not close one of the candidates they wanted closed. And I should be fired. If I can't close these candidates the way I need to close them, I should be let go. So the golden rule that we adopted that changed the game for us overnight was the golden rule that says no offer ever shall go out without knowing it's going to be accepted. Well, how does that work? Well, before a final interview, and by the way, when we set expectations for the candidate up front, we get the ability to accept their offer. We accept their offer on their behalf before the final interview. Let me repeat that, before the final interview. So before the final interview, when I prep them, and they got, let's say, an interview going on tomorrow, I'll ask the candidates these questions. I will say, Fred, I know we talked about this initially. I know the interview process has been going on for 2 weeks, and this is the final interview tomorrow. As you know, what our rule in the office is no offer will ever go out without knowing it's going to be accepted. So here's a question I got for you. If I get you the $120,000 plus that 25% bonus is what we talked about, can I have the ability to accept that offer on your behalf, pending that goes well in the interview? And I shut up. What I want to hear from them is absolutely, exactly, no problem, John. They'll come back with objections, and this will get all the objections out up front before the interview. Well, I don't think so. Well, Fred, why not? Well, I don't know anything about the benefits. Okay, Fred, let's assume the benefits are the same as you have today. If I get to the offer for $125K plus a 20% bonus, can I accept the offer on your behalf? And I shut up. Well, how about the relocation? You see, what it's going to do, it's going to get out every objection you have. And if I can't resolve all the issues on the phone, I don't allow them to go to the final interview. I pull them from the final interview. And then what we'll do is at the point where, I really can't have you accept the offer on your behalf. Is there a reason why? Well, if I can't accept the offer, Fred, on your behalf, I've got to pull the interview. I've got to cancel the interview for you. Because what I don't do is waste my client's time, waste your time, and waste my time. But what that is a takeaway close. And obviously takeaway close are some of the best closes in the business. And what it allows them to do is to say, wait a minute, no. The issue I have is this, so it gets the issue on the table so you have the ability to address the issue. And that's the gold rule. Put it in place in your office. You will close so many deals. You won't have offers that go out, won't be accepted, and you'll have a lot more fun. In terms of becoming a power broker and adding value in this business today based on the shifts in the economy, it is all about processes. You need to have the process for research, planning, process for business development, how you go through, process for recruiting, how you set expectations, and then make sure you do the right things, like have an insight statement of some powerful insight which will bring you from the level of recruiter all the way up to a consultant in the eyes of your customer. It could be about a candidate, could be about an industry piece of information, could be about anything, but it will be your door opener for your industry. I'm telling you, and you'll be head and shoulders above every other recruiter that's out there in business development. Also, set expectations with hiring managers on how you work up front so you're successful when you go through a process, in an interview process. And you want to qualify and requalify as much as possible because you want to use that job order matrix to make sure you have search assignments for sure. Now, when I say set high goals, you're going to have to set high goals, and it's typically about activity levels. So the average recruiter may do 20, 30 calls a day. in business development in this economy, it is about volume in terms of contacts. I know that today if I'm going to go after my key clients, I'm going to have to call them over and over and over again to get hold of them. People aren't responding to voicemail very much anymore. Not only that, I'm going to send them a voicemail. I'm going to send them an email. I'm going to call them on their cell phone. I may then text them on a cell phone as well, just to get a hold of them, to have the ability to have those conversations. So get all the activity done that you need to get done to make sure you're going to be successful. And here's why the time now is so important for you. We just lost 65% of our brothers and sisters in this industry. Our hiring managers are being more careful, more picky than any other time in the history. What you need to do out there is put these processes in place. Do the things you need to do to make you above and beyond every other recruiter that's out there. Have the insight out there. Make sure you set expectations. Make sure you qualify, requalify. Use the job order matrix. And if you use those types of things, you'll have the ability to be super successful. You'll have not only a great end of 2010, you will have the best 2011 in your lifetime. Now, questions real quick. Let me jump on questions for you. The first question that came up was, where do you find it? I'll try to get up here as fast as I can. And the first question is, where can I get the job order matrix? I want it. I want a copy of it. Great. Go to johnbartos.com, JONBARTOS.com, obviously www. Go into the library section and go under forms. And all these forms are there. The set expectations forms. The processes are there. Examples of insight statements are there. Use this stuff. It's all free. So grab that stuff and use it. And put it in place, because it really helps you determine what's the best thing for you to work on. Now, another question is it possible to get a copy of that job order for, yep, that's on there. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, also, let's talk about business development for just 2 seconds more. I mean, if I'm currently working with a client and you know there's more business there, that would probably be my #1 priority, is to work with that client to get more business by networking with other folks within an organization. Look at the process it takes just to get a new client on board. You got to have your presentation. You got to have value. You have to negotiate your service agreement. You got to get it signed from legal. And then once you get into a hiring process there, you really have no idea if they're telling you the truth or not, what's going on. If you look at the bottom of the job order matrix sheet, if those who want to download that, one of the questions I have is it a new client or existing client? Because if it's a new client, I'm not sure that what they say is actually true. So spend some time, jump on johnbartos.com. By the way, that whole website is being revamped, and a whole new one will be out in November with even more forms and documents and matrices for you to use. Feel free to use whatever you can. Everybody can send me an email if they want to, and here's my email address. It's John, J-O-N, at jonathanscott.com. There it is. There's my phone number as well. So any questions, any concerns, please bring it in. I want to thank everybody out there for being on. And then we have a very important session next Monday. It's all about the metrics of doing this business and understanding what the high producers do, what the low producers do, what the successful offices do. And we're going to take a look at metrics and how you can be successful by averages. I want to thank everybody on behalf of Main Sequence. Have a great day, and we will see you next Monday.